Hi there and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker. I'm glad you could be with us. And really before we jump too deep into this tea tasting, this is a time to, this is when we get together virtually to, build a community, to interact together, to enjoy tea together. And before we go too deep into today's tasting, I want you to consider scrolling down to Monday's post, which would be, this is Tuesday's post, the day before, and look at the Hand Reach charity. Consider how you can help spread the word. Perhaps you see some teas there that you want to purchase on that eBay charity auction. Hand Reach is an organization that goes into the more desperate, the more needy families, homes throughout the world. In particular, they have a focus in China, and they help children who have trauma, who need prosthetics, who need some kind of physical therapy or even surgeries, longer, more complicated series of surgeries, so these kids can walk to school, so that they can, play, so that they can enjoy and have closer to a normal life. Please scroll down, have a look at that, spread the word. If you see some teas or see a way you can contribute to that, please do. Today we're going to be looking at a tea. I hope you've had a chance to pre-order your teas. We're coming up on holiday seasons. We're coming up on times when you want to have a warm cup of tea in your hand. And so our tea today is from a Feng Huang, a PhoenixBird Select from MightyLeaf. If you are looking to get involved with a future tea tasting with us, of course you can go right up above to the future episodes page and look at the teas, order those in advance, and have your setup ready to go so you can join along with us. Now we've got our cup here, our teapot here, and we are going to add, I'll just show you, and I've got a spoon, so I'll just kind of estimate as best I can, but we want to cover the bottom flat surface of this teapot. Now we've got here about 3/4 of a teaspoon there, but that's not going to be enough, so we need to add a little bit more. And then we're going to kind of shake that around, spread it around. I like mine with plenty of kick, so I'm going to toss in a bit more. There, that should be enough to go on. Now our water is the next part that goes in, and our water has been brought to a pretty good heavy boil, because with a oolong, a dark oolong like this, you want to really put the heat to it. So we're going to add our water here. This is about, I can't remember. I'm wanting to think this is about a 5 or 6 ounce teapot we've got here. So we'll set that aside. It's getting very warm to the touch very quickly. Get the water out of the way. We have our aroma cup here. We're also going to be using, if you haven't used an aroma cup before, that's something you may want to consider an investment in. It does kind of help with pulling up and smelling. Of course, if you don't want to do that, we're using our wine glass here, because the size allows us to stick our nose, and of course the color gives us something to look at through that as well. Now, let's give a brief introduction of our tea here. As we said, this is MightyLeaf. This is their PhoenixBird Select, 3 ounces for $10.95. Now, Phoenix is not just a pretty little name. Phoenix actually denotes where this tea traditionally originated, and that's in Guangdong province, which is if you're familiar with Canton, Guangzhou, that southeast part of China. What else do I want to say? The Feng Huang Mountains are an area that have been associated with teas for hundreds of years. There are tea trees there that are estimated to be up to 500 years old. We're talking about you have to get a ladder, climb up into those trees. There's a strong Buddhist community which kind of evolved and grew with the tea there. So some of the connections that are associated with the Guangdong and the Phoenix Mountain aspect there. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this tea, talk about the dry leaf, wet leaf, and of course the liquor. Now, First thing we're going to do is give a kind of look at the dry leaf and get a note of the smell. If you're going to taste along with us, if you want to fully appreciate your teas, you want to be able to talk about these aspects as well. If we get a little too fast or get a little too involved, you've got the links, or if you have to step away, you've got the tags at the bottom of this video. You can click on those and come back to us. But if you do that, your steeping parameters and your taste could be different because you've steeped in a different way. All right, let's get a little good whiff of this first. I'm getting those traditional, okay, this is a roasted, deeply more roasted, more oxidized oolong. And so you're getting a lot of those traditional type caramel, firewood combination smells coming off of this. Almost like a woody honey type smell. So those are the first thing you're going to notice. Let's get a few leaves out, look at those as well. Our leaves are resembling something that you would get from a Wui, a Fujian style oolong. The idea is actually that the Wui mountains in Fujian actually originated this deep style oxidized oolong type, and that spread down to other areas like the Phoenix Mountain. And so you're getting dark brown, kind of auburn and seal brown. You're getting leaves that are twisted along the main vein of the leaf, kind of, and you're getting some whole leaf. You're getting a lot of section of leaves as well. You're getting some pretty inch-long size, and you're getting smaller than that. Okay, so that kind of touches on our dry leaf. Not a whole lot to really probe into there at this point. Our wet leaf will tell us a little bit more. So let's go ahead now. We should have had enough time. Yeah, let's give that. Actually, I'm going to let that steep a little bit longer. I like a good, rich, full taste to that. So if you like yours lighter, go ahead and pour a little bit off now. You could be making your notes about your wet leaf. And when you talk about your wet leaf, you want to talk about aromas. You want to talk about any shape or size, or how those leaves have opened up, and changes in that aspect, and changes in color as well. While we're waiting just a few more minutes, this may be something that you have seen before, maybe you haven't. This is maybe new. A traditional Gongfu style tea set comes with a few basic elements here. You've got your kind of a funnel, which was used to place on top and allow your teas to funnel into your teapot. Of course, along with that, you've got your scoop for putting your leaves in. I often see this used for actually scraping or cleaning out a teapot. Although, depending on your needs, you could use it for other things, because one of the things you'll notice, this as well can be used to scrape out and clean. And if you've got some issues in the spout here or inside, you need to clean with it's kind of an ivory tip here, or oxhorn type tip, I should say. Those I don't see used as much. What I do find frequently useful in a Gongfu style tea set are the tongs, because you're often using a lot of hot water. You're using small cups like this, and you want to heat up your cups before you use them. So you've got to usually get a big bowl, larger sized bowl. You've got a bunch of cups lined up inside that large bowl, and you're pouring boiling water, or even a little bit of hot tea on there. And of course, you can't stick your hands in that water easily. So that's what you're using that to pick those up out of the boiling water and set them out so they're nice and hot. They're ready for tea. Speaking of ready for tea, it's time to give this a pour and see what's happening. Now, the trick with a set like this, and especially with a vase, the hole that it comes in, is sometimes you have to be selective in the order of placing this back in, or they don't fit in as well. Now, let's go ahead get this ready to go. Now, with an aroma cup, we're going to pour into our tall one first, and we pour just like so. You don't want to go all the way to the top. You want to leave about 1/2 inch from the top, roughly. and then you're going to cap that. I'm going to pour the rest in here while I'm at it. We'll drink from the aroma cup first, just to kind of show what it can do, how it's used. We'll give this a little time to cool off as well. Set that over here and there. And I'm going to leave that there for just a moment. Before we get into that though, we do also want to take a good look at these leaves, these wet leaves. So, we'll open this up. As we say, we're going to look at the smell. So we want to build up a little steam, but not too much because you don't want to, scald the inside of your nose or anything. Still getting those firewood type smoky element to it, although lighter. Also, I'm getting a smell. Now, I confess, I don't always clean up my tea immediately after I've used it. So there are times, more than once, when I've used a green tea, for example, I've left it in my gaiwan or my pot, left it in there overnight, and sometimes, you're kind of curious. You think, what happens if I re-steep that? I only used it once or twice maybe last night. Let's see if we can get some more out of it. And you do, and you steep that, and you get this kind of stale, bland. Even if it's only was used once the night before, it just doesn't bring that fresh, rich texture and smell to it. That's a little bit of what I'm detecting here. Kind of a stale, used tea. I don't believe that these were actually pre-used. I just believe that these were not the freshest. Okay, so, or at least that's the smell that's coming off here. But it's very faint, and the smoky aspect is stronger than that, in general, than that. I'm going to pull out a few leaves. You'll note that we're getting kind of olive drab in our color of green leaf here as well. You're getting kind of red blotches on the outer edge. This is where the oxidization has begun and did not fully dissipate, spread throughout the leaf. Let's see if we can find a few more. We've got mostly here leaf sections or leaf portions. I'm going to take one or two though, just to kind of, let's see if I can get a larger piece, because I want to get a feel for how tender, what kind of leaf was this. So you get a nice piece like that, and you just kind of bite on it. I mean, these are not the most tender, but then again, they're not the most leathery or thickest leaves that I've discovered. So that's just kind of something interesting to note in your personal experience. Actually, that's pretty light, pretty tender, considering that leaf there. So set that aside. Now, before we let this cool off too much, we do want to jump in here and use our aroma cup, flip it over. Now you want to kind of break that seal, so you're twisting at an angle, and there you go. And now quickly smell. Man, I was ready to get a deep, rich smell, and there's just not a lot coming off of that. A very faint free coming off the aroma here. Coming off the taste, I should say. You know what, I'm going to set that aside because I want to talk a little bit more fully. I do want to kind of get a good, clear picture of this cup as well. And you're seeing that compared to, say, a Chilan that we've recently done, you're getting a lighter, more like a orange honey type color there. It's not a deep, rich, reddish rust type, so that's one of the first things we note. Let's see if we can pull out some, because we've got a more concentrated amount here. And to be fair, when you steep your your teas, often the strongest, most potent tea is at the bottom around the leaf. So because I poured this first, it's going to most likely be thinner. This is going to be stronger. So that's a note. Yeah, this has got a bit more of the smoky aroma already coming off of the nose. Yeah, I'm detecting some of the first things that are coming off are a bit of a bitterness, a bit of a astringency there. Again, flavor profile still pretty light in comparison with other richly oxidized, heavily, fully roasted oolongs like that. Body pretty light, drops off fairly quickly, especially in comparison with others. What else did I leave out? It does have a bit of a kind of a hickory smoked honey aspect to it, so you've got a bit of the smoky, a little bit of the sweet, although it's not the most potent, like I said. It's got that kind of a tangy, tart aftertaste, but again, very brief, light. Yeah, I mentioned the bitterness and the medium to high astringency. So I want to make sure I covered everything I had noted in previous tastings and this tasting as well. So to kind of look at this tea, wrap it up, offer what we've got as far as the dry leaf, wet leaf, liquor here. We gave this tea an 83. We were looking for something with a stronger aroma, a little bit of a heavier, thicker body as well, which this one didn't fully offer. Lower on the bitterness as well, and lower on the astringency. So, and again, this kind of clues us in. We had those clues all the way going through everything, especially from the wet leaf. We had that kind of a stale smell to it. This was not the highest quality that is offered as far as a Phoenix type tea. So, give it a try for yourself. I always say you learn from good teas, you learn from bad teas. You learn, and especially if you can learn why that tea is, or how it became good or bad. Each tea is telling you a story. Try to learn and understand what that story is. So, and then until next time, check out the teas at the charity Hand Reach, which is the post before this one on Monday. Prepare for upcoming episodes. We've got a Sencha coming up tomorrow. We've got, what else? We've got a second flush Darjeeling coming up on Thursday. Please join us again at Walker Tea Review.